All right, I'm gonna do a little video here. I know a few of you follow me, but I haven't posted much lately. I got the B2601 and bought this in January of 17. And before that, I had a BX25 with a backhoe and a snowblower and a 48-inch mower deck. This one has the 54-inch bucket quick attach, the 54-inch mower deck, turf tires, and the backhoe. I have used, I don't have a lot of hours. I only have like 170 hours on this, but I've used the backhoe. I didn't use the backhoe much because I ended up buying a mini. And, the backhoe comes in handy for some things, but most of the time it's just in the way, in my opinion. But it does work good. The backhoe has a lot more pulling strength, and those outriggers, they don't really give you a good dig in if you're really trying to dig some dirt. It ends up always pulling you. So I got the mini. I don't have it here, but I had a Kubota U35, went to a Bobcat E35, get the extended boom on that. But that works great. And you know what? If you got to run into a spot, you don't wreck the yard too much for what I'm doing. But I do have the filled tires in here. I used to have, excuse me, just a little weight on the back. But when the 3-point hitch and when you're driving around, that thing's always swinging back and forth. Kind of was annoying, so I ended up getting it filled. And I know they don't recommend having the tires filled with the backhoe on, but I do. And most of the time I don't have the backhoe on. The reason why I'm doing this video is this unit is sold. It is going down the road. And I was gonna get a LX 2610 because I'm sick of blowing snow with no cab. I thought about getting the OTC and then potentially tapping in by the thermostat and putting a heater in it and all that stuff. I know a few people online have done that. I'm at a point in my life where I just said, it's time to get something bigger. So I went and drove the 2610 and GP Outdoors and a few other people complaining about that hydro whine. It is definitely a hydro whine in that 2610. However, the 2610, the hydrostatic drive, the front, forward, and reverse, I think is way nicer than on this B. And I think part of the problem with this is the way you're sitting, your leg angle. That's one. The seat on the 2610, way better. It's more of a suspension seat. And those of you who have the B know this is not a suspension seat. And I think the size, they're comparable. Or I don't know, what are they, 9 inches longer and 5 inches wider. So it's not really that big. It just sits taller. But this B, I don't have nothing really bad to say about this thing. It's done a ton of stuff for what I need to do. I mainly have it in the shop here moving trailers around. This is my little rig I put on the front of that. Welded some hooks on there. I got a set of forks for it over there. And this thing lifts way more than the BX, right? The BX is a good lawn mowing unit with other capabilities. But this thing is great on the yard. I mean, it doesn't really tear it up unless you got it in 4-wheel drive and stuff like that. But I'll be interested to see how the R14s work. The problem with the turf tires, in my opinion, is you put some weight on the front, especially if you're moving around heavy things like a boat. It really digs. Those really dig in. I don't think they have that much sidewall strength. So I just did a fresh oil change on here for the gentleman that's buying it. He's excited. Mower, the mower works great on here. I got a buddy that has one of these. He cuts, his 2-acre lot with it. I don't know how he does it. I have a Kubota ZD 1211. I used to have a 3311. And that is the way to cut grass, in my opinion. So I want to do a quick video and just tell you a few things about, the B and what I'm going to. I'm not going to a 2610. I'm actually going to the new 3520. And a couple of reasons why I'm stepping up to the 3520 is it's got all the cool stuff. It's got the new auto throttle pedals. So when you push on the pedal, the throttle goes up. It's got 2 sets. You can set 2 speeds for the RPMs. You know, I'm going with the cab version. And for those of you that don't like a DPF filter, a particulate filter on your machine, I kind of do. I start this thing up a lot in the shop. I don't like all that carbon in there. You know, it sprays all over the floor. You can see right here, when you start it up, you know, it spits a little carbon all over the floor. And I actually use this in the winter up at my cabin house, which is pretty nice. And I hate to start it up in there, have all that carbon. So the 3520, I actually just had one at the Kubota dealer here in town. The lady had it for all summer. And I reached my hand in where the throttle or the exhaust comes, and there's nothing in there. I like that. So, plus it's got some more horsies, and you guys can go online and check out the 3520. There's a couple reviews on them. I think Kubota did a really good job with that. And I know the cab in the summer might not be the optional, because I do spend a lot of time when I'm doing it, it's short trips, right? You're hauling some stone or doing this, you're in and out, in and out. But I guess I'll get used to it. I got a skid steer with the cab. My Bobcat E35 has a cab. My U35 Kubota did not have a cab. I am a fan of a cab, so we're gonna give that a try. But other than that, this B has been great for anybody looking for a good all-around tractor, and you're not gonna particularly mow a lot with it. I think a B is a great size. It lifts pretty much, you know, everything you kind of need to lift around the house and keep a yard maintained. And if you want the backhoe, I mean, this thing comes off and lickety split. It's pretty simple. You put your stick out, drop the boom down, get the pressure off. You pull these pins out, and then you let it fall back. Put your outriggers down. It'll lift it up. There's some bottom, I don't know if you can see them on here, but there's some bottom brackets down there. You rip it out, you lift it up out of there, and then you back up, or you pull forward a little bit, unhook your hoses, and then you're done. And you can come back and have it hooked up in no time flat. So pretty easy to get the backhoe off and on. And one thing I do have the hydraulic, you know, basically it's a free flow. So I do have a wood splitter that I do put on the 3-point. And the wood splitter is up on the rack, but it's slow. You know, I'm not splitting a ton of wood, but when I need it, I got it. And I don't have another power source. Some people talk about, oh, you got your tractor running and all that stuff. These are diesels. I mean, you can put 3,000 hours on these things. That's a lot of wood split if you're gonna do it. So I'm not too worried about that. It's one less engine I need to maintain, one less oil change on an engine, potentially another battery you got to maintain. So that's my theory on that. And seriously, if you wanted to rig up some other kind of hydraulic system to do some stuff in your shop, you got a power source right here. So my new tractor is going to have the 3rd function valve on the front, and I'm going to get 2 functions on the back. One's going to be controlled, you know, basically off and on, and then I'm going to have a free flow for the wood splitter, so I can still use that. So, all right, another thing that I had with this B is I had the snowblower. I believe this came off of a B, I don't know the numbers offhand, but a B3300 or something. And I made it fit on, I wasn't sure if it was gonna fit, looked at all the part specs and all that kind of thing. And it does fit. I made it fit. The only thing I really had to do was I had to kind of grind out those slots so when it fit on the frame, I could get the bolts through, you know, those 2 bolts right there. And then the drive shaft was, if I remember right, it was too long. So I had to cut the drive shaft. I cut the drive shaft off, and then I re-welded it. And it works great. I put the electronic actuator on there. It's a little slow, but it works. and this thing blows snow. And you can see, talking about that particulate filter, you know, when you got this, Kubota's got that exhaust coming out, so you get all that carbon on your stuff, which my new machine, it's not going to do that because you got the filter. And I'm okay with the filter. I did wire that toggle in here. I saw somebody else online, I forget the gentleman that did this, but he got this little box and all these little collars and got a toggle switch. So I just plug it in when I get it hooked up. And I did put, somebody else had done this. I had put the plastic shoes, and I actually put a plastic blade. Got that off of Freckle Face and put that on there because I was blowing off some new buildings we were building, and I didn't want to wreck up the concrete. Plus, it worked good for my new driveway when I got that put in. My new blower, I'm going to get the Kubota. Kubota makes a poly kit right for it. Of course, they charge you arm and leg for it, but we're going to give that a try. See how that works. So the thing I do, or I don't like about this blower is when you lift it up, it doesn't come off the ground very high. So if you're turning a little bit and you got, 5, 6, 7 inches of snow, you're always dragging it off of where you blew. I'm hoping that the new one with that K-Connect, it really seems like that goes high in the air. The other problem I had is when I had the blower on it, if I tried putting on my power tilt here, the angle was too steep, and I'd always have a hard time getting it kind of off and on, especially if you had snow because of the angle. I could get it in my enclosed because of the angle's not as aggressive. So I think that's going to be nice to have a little higher connection. However, I will not be able to use it in my enclosed because of the cab. So I'll have to put it on the tilt bed, and it won't be so bad though. But I want to touch base on that blower and how that went together with that subframe and quick connect. So other than that, I think the unit itself is great. And I wouldn't be afraid to get one of these again if I need to.